British hostages, and talked to survivors and grieving relatives, lawyers and government officials, politicians and human rights campaigners, soldiers and spies. Along the way, I have sat in a living room listening to a young woman describe how she repeatedly tried to take her life because she never recovered from her ordeal in captivity. Heard a former flight attendant talk of his lifelong battle with crippling fear that ultimately ended his career. Heard harrowing tales of rapes, assaults, mock executions, and near-starvation conditions. Engaged with CIA sources who, out of conscience, helped me with classified documents. And interviewed soldiers at the heart of the most secret part of the British government, who risked their livelihoods and their freedom to reveal the truth behind Flight 149. This is their story.
Chapter 1. Invasion. The British Airways Boeing 747 was called Coniston Water. Maureen Chappell noticed the name as she stood in line to board the plane, and it disturbed her. She was a frequent flyer, and she seldom bothered to notice the names of aircraft, but this one struck her as odd. She knew that Coniston Water was the lake in Cumbria, where great British hero Donald Campbell, the holder of world speed records on land and water, was killed when his boat, Bluebird, flipped over during a 300 miles-per-hour run. It was a story of disaster and death. Strange name for a plane, she thought. Her daughter, Jennifer, noticed the name too, as the family entered the plane's front cabin. She was too young to remember Campbell, but somehow the name stuck with her as she found her way to her seat. For some reason, it made her feel uncomfortable. The Chappell family, husband John, wife Maureen, and children John, 14, and Jennifer, 12, were travelling in business class. John was returning with his wife to India, where he was an electronics systems advisor to the Indian Navy. The children were on vacation from boarding school. Jennifer was looking forward to a big party to celebrate her upcoming 13th birthday. All her friends in India had been invited. Apart from that, she and John Jr. felt the way they normally did on these long-haul trips, tired, hot, and bored. It was early evening at Heathrow on Wednesday the 1st of August 1990, and flight BA 149 was headed for Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, via Kuwait and Madras. Departure had already been delayed for 2 hours. Apparently a fault had been found in the auxiliary power unit, a small engine in the tail that provided air conditioning. The delay seemed to put everyone, passengers and crew, on edge. The 747 they were waiting to board, registration number G-AWND, was one of the oldest in the British Airways BA fleet, having been built in Seattle some 19 years earlier. It was also rumoured to have had a rather chickened history. An unhappy Jamaican, spurned by his lover, had apparently walked up to the plane as it sat on the tarmac and killed himself by jumping into one of the still-rotating jet engines. 3,000 miles away in the desert just north of the Kuwait border, the Medina and Hammurabi armoured divisions of Iraq's spearhead Republican Guard were turning over the engines of their battle tanks, keeping them warm in the cool Arabian night. The divisions were equipped with Soviet-made, state-of-the-art T-72 tanks, as well as older T-54s and T-62s. They also had huge mobile 155mm howitzers that could fire 7 shells a minute over a distance of 19 miles. The Republican Guard troops were the pride of Saddam Hussein's regime, and the men were confident as they went about their last-minute weapons checks. Recruited mainly from Tikrit, the power base of Saddam, they were the best-paid and best-fed troops in the Iraqi army. Now they were to be the cutting edge of Saddam's invasion of Kuwait, the dictator's way of settling a long-running dispute between the two countries over the lucrative oil fields that straddled their common border. The guards were well prepared. They had detailed maps of Kuwaiti positions and the movement of patrols around key buildings. They were briefed at 4 p.m. local time, 5 hours before Flight 149.